everybody, welcome to those who've been hanging with me some time, and welcome to those of you who are new to my channel. I'm Adele Levine, intuitive and medium. Okay, so before we get to the subject at hand, I wanted to make a little announcement. Drum roll, please. I have put out a book. Yes, I did. I put out a book on Amazon. It is called Peering into the Narrow Room, a non-guide to the other side. I don't have a copy in my hand. Some of you have it before me. However, here is the cover and what it looks like, and I will be getting my copy shortly. It is a wee little book, but it has everything packed full in there that you guys have asked me about, what I've covered on here: shadow people, demons, intuition, how to hone your intuition, water guides, all these things that people have asked and things I've covered on this channel. I've put into this nice little wee book that I'm really excited for you guys to have. It's a good complement towards the content and the classes and everything that I've put out there. So I hope you enjoy it. You can get it on Amazon. You can enter my name, Adele Levine, you'll find it, or you can put in the title. So let's get to the subject at hand. Okay, I'm gonna take a little sip of this first. And I was gonna save the main story for last, but I am just gonna dive right into the first story. And that is the story that started all of this. A few videos back, I talked about my trip to the oral surgeon. Okay, so I'm just going to dive into that one right off the bat because I know that's what you guys want to hear. Now, here's a little thing about me, just so you understand. I can block what I see with people. I can block what I see with them, what I see in their life, what I see as far as the spirit world and all that. And I normally do because, you know, I have to have a life. I have to be able to shop and I have to be able to do things. But on the other hand, a long time ago, I hid what I did. When I went on this journey way back, I really didn't like to tell people. Even when I was doing this professionally, I didn't like to tell people because there was a lot of bad connotation that came with what I do. So I didn't used to be upfront and honest. And then as I got into this path for a long time and doing this calling, something came to me like, I'm not going to hide anymore. I'm not going to hide what I do anymore. So if someone asks me what I do, I'm going to be very honest about it. And for the most part, I've had some very interesting encounters and things that have happened. I've met some interesting people and I've appreciated that. And so I've even helped some people along the way in ways that I wasn't counting. So this video is about weird situations that I've done readings in and weird, ways I've done readings. I'm not really going to give away people's reading because, it's private, but these are not clients. These are people who have just, right place, right time, or wrong place, wrong time. Yeah, that's how it's said. Okay, so let's get into this one. With that said, when I was going for this, going to the dentist, I was really nervous about it. The whole week, I was extremely, extremely nervous because I had this kind of feeling about me where I kind of am built strange, where I can float between the worlds. There's been many, many times people have been on the phone with me and I start to fall asleep, or I'm in someone's presence and I'm falling asleep. And if I'm falling asleep and I'm drifting between the worlds, I start talking to people they don't know who I'm talking to. And I'll start laughing and talking. And they're like, who are you talking to? I'm like, oh, this old man, he's telling me about blah, blah, blah. I mean, many times. And people have been like, okay, Adela, wake up. It trips them out. So I can slip into this. So one of my fears that I had about this, because I was going under for the first time, was, am I going to wake up in the middle of this because I'm just kind of easily able to jump out of my body? So when I went, it was totally nice. They were totally nice. The place was great. And they put me, in the chair. It's kind of like a chair bed. And they put the gas on to relax me. And as soon as I start feeling the relaxing going on, I feel like all of my guards and my Wonder Woman protection, like all of my boundaries start to melt. And I could feel it. And so I told her I might say some things that are strange. And this isn't even before they put me under. This is where they relax you to put you under. And she goes, oh, okay. What do you mean? I go, because I have a strange thing. You know, I have a different career that I do. What I do, I'm built a little different. You know, I'm just spilling the beans. And she's like, well, what is that? I said, oh, I'm an intuitive and medium and I read people. And she said, really? I wouldn't mind if you read me. And boom. Yes, I did. I started reading her. I didn't read her right away. She was talking about her mom who passed, who she really wishes she could talk to, you know, and she could connect. And I start teaching her about how she could connect to her mom through dreams. And I was telling her what she needed to do. No, actually it was her grandmother who raised her, like, you know, her own, and what she needed to do and how she needed to do it. And I start telling her all this and all this. We're alone. Now, I will say that I met her a month earlier when I had my first appointment, and she was in that room, and I knew immediately this person would definitely be interested in what I do. I could just tell. And she happened to be the nurse that was in the room with me. I didn't really put two and two together, but till later. So I start telling her this. And then of course, other people start coming in, right? You know, other nurses. And so we're not talking about it anymore. And, you know, the doctor puts me under and I'm waking up. But as I'm waking up, I hear them talking about Christmas, and I just start talking about my Christmas tree. All this stuff in my mouth. And the doctor even later commented, for someone who's very asleep, you were talking quite a bit. I told you. Okay, so now I'm out. I'm coming out of this, and I'm kind of waking up out of this. And I'm obviously like, woo, you know, feeling pretty chill and relaxed. And she's like, again, alone with me. And I just roll right into it like no time had passed. Like I just start telling her things about her life and what she needs to do, telling her about her grandmother and that her grandmother's with this little baby boy. And she's like, her son died as a baby. Like she had a baby who passed. So she knew what I was talking about. And she's tripping out. She's tripping out, and I'm just floating in La La Land and just reading her. And she enjoyed it quite a bit, and I'm telling her about her boyfriend and her career and what she's going to do to change her career, and she's validating all of it. She's like, yeah, that's exactly what we're going to do. I go, you're creative. She goes, I'm a DJ, and this isn't your life. And she goes, I know. And I start telling her everything. And once again, people flood in. You know, everyone comes back in, and that's at that point, the doctor's like, yeah, you were talking quite a bit, you know, for being so asleep. And I said, yeah, I'm just kind of weird. He goes, well, that's nothing wrong with that. So I have a feeling they might have all chit-chatted a little bit about this one. And that is that experience. Okay. So you see, and the thing is that I want to say, I don't read people unless they ask me to, without permission. And you may ask, you know, why did you do it? I think it's pretty obvious because I was kind of, you know, not able to control it. And lastly, I don't do that in life. Like when I'm alert and myself, I keep those boundaries up. I keep that wall up. However, I just kind of, you know, sometimes I'm okay with it. I'm like, if this helped her, they helped me. You know, I have a belief that we're all servicing each other. I have a lot of respect for people in the medical world and, you know, what their service they're providing, especially right now. And so I'm kind of like, you know, maybe I gave her a gift. Another medical story I will give you is this. I once went to a clinic. It wasn't the greatest. This was like years ago, but you know how it is. It fit the bill of the insurance, and I needed some medical help. And most of the people who went to this clinic were not in great shape, you know, and they came from really hardship times, much, much, much worse off than I was. And there was a nurse, and I was in her office, and it kind of looked like a dungeon, guys. Like it wasn't great. And she was the kindest, sweetest person. Now, I did not feel well at all. But I'm able to have that understanding of like, wow, she's very, very giving that she's been doing this for so long in this not so great, she'd been there 20 years. And she, of course, people ask you what you do when you're filling out paperwork. So she's assessing me and filling out paperwork. I told her, and she asked me to read her. And I was like, I really don't want to do this right now because I don't feel well. But I just kind of looked around and saw like, wow, she just didn't look happy. And I felt like she gave so much. I couldn't understand how she stayed at this place for so long, because it just was, I don't know, I could just see her soul. But she had lost her mom and she wanted me to talk to her. And so I did. So I talked to her mom. I read her mom. She was, kind of like what happens in these situations. I'm like, okay, I read her. I'm glad she's feeling good and everything. I'm feeling miserable, by the way. And, I move on. Flash forward to a couple of weeks later when I had to kind of come back for a, checkup type of thing. I still was having some issues. I just kind of wanted to get this checkup over, and I just wanted to get home. And they paged me over the intercom from a nurse that a nurse needs to see me. I go see the nurse. She looks like a different person. She looks lighter and happier. And she goes, I just wanted to tell you that you changed my life. I feel so much better. My whole life has changed. I've changed person. I'm going to do a whole new path. And I'm like, wonderful. But I felt like shit. So I was like, wonderful. This is great news. I gotta go, but I appreciate it. Now, I did feel good about it. But yeah, I did also feel like I can't, I gotta go. And so that was another medical situation. Here is a court situation. I went to court for civil. And in the court, I'm standing there in front of the judge, and way back, I've had these fantasies, like, I wonder if I was ever in court, if the judge would ask me to read him. I never, or her, and I never really thought that would happen. I'm standing in civil court. The judge asks me what I do. Yep. I have to tell him. I'm thinking I have to tell him because it's on all my paperwork. So I'm like, well, I have to tell him. I mean, he's probably already knows. I told him, and you guess it, he asked for a reading. It was very surreal. And at one point I said, well, I'm a little bit, I go, well, hemming and hawing. He goes, well, what do you think I'm going to do? Arrest you? And I'm like, why would you even say that? Why? Why are you even saying that? I mean, I wasn't even thinking that, but now, what's up? So I read him and I tell him that I see him on this boat. I see him on a cruise or some kind of boat, and I see water. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to retire, and I'm going on a cruise right after my retirement. He's like, you're right. And then he asks me to read the plaintiff, not the plaintiff, what's the guy, you know what I'm saying? The guy who, like, the bailiff, not the plaintiff, the bailiff. And the guy turned around and looked at me like he would put handcuffs on me if I dared read him. He had a look on his face like, don't even think about it. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. No, sir. And I'm trying to be all respectful. He's asking if I'll read the person who's taking notes. I'm like, no. And he's like all jolly about it and everything. It was very surreal. Yeah, and I did. I read the judge. And lastly, I will say, many Lyft drivers, mostly Lyft drivers, not so much Uber drivers. I have done tons of readings on Lyft drivers because they always ask you, here in California, people are very chatty. So they always ask you, what do you do? And I tell them, and many times I have read Lyft drivers. And I've helped a few people on these drives. And I even had someone who booked a reading. I had a dentist once was fixing my cracked tooth, and she found out what I did because my client used to own her practice, and I read her in the chair talking to her mom right before she worked on me. I can probably go on, but there are so many different times. It happens all the time. And as of late, and this is the note I'll end, I went to a really cool thing called Forward, where they do like a new way of medical, checkups. It's a very futuristic. And the guy who was very young, he was a medical assistant, took my blood, and I don't know about you, but when I get my blood check, I can't look, I look away. But I had a plaid shirt on that had a tarot image on the back, and I mentioned it because he liked my shirt. He asked me if I read cards. I said, no, I can see naturally. And I did not read him, guys. I did not read him, but he did ask me the whole time as he's taking my blood how I got to use my sight and how it happened. Yeah, he sure did. So there are more, but I'm not going to go on and on. Maybe I'll do a part 2. But the moral of the story is this. First of all, when you have sight, it is up to you to put boundaries not only for yourself, but for others, which I normally do. Secondly, it is true, I can't really block when I have things in my system. I will tell you that I have been at many, many parties, and I've been the person in the corner in the room with someone after having a couple of drinks of wine or whatever, that I can't stop. And I used to do that. And I would be reading the person through the whole party. And one time I was in a restaurant at a bar, and the bartender, asked me what I did. And I made a joke how I can't really stop stuff when I get very loose. And he gave me, you guessed it, many free drinks. And I did help him. I did. But the point is that I don't really do that so much anymore. So if you ever meet me and you think that's going to work, it's not. So I'm much more careful. I'm much more aware. I do put up blocks, and I am discerning. I will help people. I have had many nail technicians that I've read. Have I gone back to them after I've read them a few times? No. I've had hairdressers I haven't gone back to as well after I read for a few times. My favorite hairdressers are the people ask me what I do, and then I tell them, and then they're like, okay, whatever. Because, I don't want to do it the whole time. However, I am also kind of feel very fortunate and grateful that I can do that for people. It does feel kind of cool that if I want to, and I can sense this person really needs it, I'll do it. But for the most part, I definitely try to nowadays to keep boundaries. And I say that to you. Boundaries, 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 boundaries. Put boundaries around yourself, not only for yourself, but it's fair. And I never read people who don't ask. So I hope you enjoyed this little video. Thank you guys so much. I am doing a class this Saturday on how to communicate with spirits and dreams. A lot of you signed up. I'm excited about this one. I posted on my Instagram as well, but you can go ahead and check it out. I'm still offering 50% off of readings during this pandemic. Stay safe, guys. Follow yourself, follow no one, and I'll see you soon.